This. I think what's interesting about this is not so much that, China's very defensive about Taiwan. We knew that. Or that the United States is very defensive about Iran. We knew that. As far as I can tell, this is the first time that China's actually used the U.S.'s actions with Taiwan against the United States in Iran. Is everybody following this?
Absolutely. So to really break it down, they're taking this entire war, this entire tit-for-tat battle into a whole new plane. Previously, the tit-for-tat was merely just a tariff, and that was relatively harmless.
Right.
Now, this is a true tit for tat, and I mean that in the old school way where it encompasses psychology, predictive behavior, and economic theory. So they're taking this into a world stage, and it's really interesting to see this play out. So what the U.S. did, U.S. instigated this months ago when they decided to sell arms to Taiwan.
$2.2 billion
worth of tanks and air defense systems.
In the U.S., Babylon the Great has instigated a lot, all right, when it comes to China, all right, going back to the Opium Wars. All right, and there's been hundreds of years of just utter disrespect, all right, wickedness, bullying. Okay, we can't forget with the Germans, with the British, and what Babylon the Great, all right, has done in history to MOAB, which are the so-called Chinese. All right, this is something we can never forget. All right, and now that, like Napoleon said it. He said, if China, all right, ever gets on their shit, all right, he didn't say those words, but, if China wakes up, the world is going to be in for a big, all right, surprise. And that's happening in these latter days. Years ago, China wouldn't have made a move like this. Okay, years ago, China wouldn't be in a back and forth with America. Okay, they would be in subject, but as the times roll closer to the end, China has its influence, and China even has its own dream, because America undermines their government. All right, and pretty much there's always been a history of tit for tat, but alliance with Moab and Edom. Okay, you go in the scriptures and type in Moab and Edom, all right, and you'll see a lot of scriptures pop up with those two names, because they've always been, even right now with this whole mark of the beast system. Okay, who's the two major components, man? All right, Esau and Moab that are pushing this thing. You also have Elam. You see, but all of these heathen are ultimately trying to fight for their position within the New World Order. Okay, and they all have agreed to give their kingdom to the beast, all right, in some ways, all right, but they're all in disagreement. Okay, they're all in disagreement on interest. And as you see right here, all right, America gave Taiwan, which is in conflict with China, all right, billions of dollars worth of armor, okay, which China, because China remembers all of the bullshit that Babylon the Great has done. They have not forgot. All right, this just adds to the frustration, okay, that the frustration that they have with Babylon the Great. All right, but we're living in some very interesting times, all right, in prophecy. All right, we're very, very close, all right, to the Lord bringing Armageddon, man. And before that, there's going to be a lot of chaos. Things have to happen. We're not saying tomorrow, but we're very, very well in those times, man, which we should be very attentive, all right, and locked into the Holy Spirit and making sure that we're detaching ourselves from this world, from this flesh, okay, because we're in a spiritual war, and there's so many things pulling at brothers, all right, that we forget we're in a spiritual war sometimes, all right. So to detach from the flesh is to be locked into the spirit and watch these things and get understanding of particular things. Study, research, look up things, learn things that you didn't know before. Go deeper into the Holy Scriptures, man. Look up history, tie it to now. Go into the acts of our forefathers. Go into the great deliverances that the Lord gave Israel when it seemed impossible. Try to get those things into your psyche, your mind. All right, because it's about to go down, man. And we want wisdom and knowledge to be the stability of our time. We don't want wisdom and knowledge to confound, us to be confounded by, the prophecies, man. We want to be on the right hand of things. But I'm going to run this back and play this, and then we'll get a few scriptures, and Lord will, y'all are edified.
Where it encompasses psychology, predictive behavior, and economic theory. So they're taking this into a world stage, and it's really interesting to see this play out. So what the U.S. did, U.S. instigated this months ago when they decided to sell arms to Taiwan.
$2.2 billion
worth of tanks and air defense
lot of
systems.
arms.
Exactly. And so by doing that, they're actually acknowledging Taiwan as their own entity, which needs their own defense system, which entirely undermines China's theory of a one China policy. It undermines that entire principle, and it undermines China's sovereignty and as well as their security interests as well. And this is defense. We're talking defense. So this is like plain old security interest.
Babylon has always tried to undermine China. But see, China is growing, man. And pretty much China is about to be the #1 economy in the world, man. You see? Now, you have particular brothers who go deeper into this, you know, and I try to get a basic understanding in it, but it all ties to biblical prophecy, man. Okay? In some shape, form, or fashion. Okay? And that's what the scriptures say. They shall scoff at kings in the book of Habakkuk. All right? As a matter of fact, let's get that. The book of Habakkuk, chapter 1, okay, and 10, it says, and they shall scoff at the kings, and the princes shall be a scorn unto them, and they shall deride every stronghold, and they shall heap up dust and take it. They don't, the Esau Edom works for their own interest. No matter what agreement you may have with them, they're always putting themselves in position to win. Okay, you go back to the Persian Empire. You had Haman. Esau is always somewhere doing something, man, to get himself into this position that he's in now, in which he pretty much has the fatness of the earth. But even with his fatness of the earth, there are things that are out of his control, and his own kingdom is bucking up against him. See, our kingdom, we ain't gonna have these type of internal issues, man. Everything's gonna be in order, and everything's gonna be in subject under Yahweh Shai to Israel, man, starting with the 144,000. All right.
That they're undermining.
How have you followed China, obviously, and from a certainly both geopolitical and economic standpoint? They sound, for the first time since I've followed these stories, legitimately pissed off, angry.
They do, exactly. So this is a huge step. What U.S. is doing is they're undermining China's authority over Taiwan, China's sovereign interest in Taiwan. So you know what? Right now, when the U.S. is trying to sanction Iran and drive their oil exports down to zero, that was their goal, China's like, okay, you know what? If you undermine us, we're going to undermine your authority in the Middle East. We're going to still export oil out of Iran, and as
they're still exporting oil out of Iran. And I made a mistake. I said that Taiwan and China were in a conflict. Well, it's not so much. It's just that that's just a territory that China is over. Okay. Now, I believe they've had some conflicts, but America just going, you know, and serving them missiles is basically telling China, you know, do what the fuck we want to do, man. You see? But
you know what? Our neighbors, India, will probably do the same as well, because you know what?
And China basically went and continued buying oil from Iran, which, you know, in 1971, China became a part of the UN, you know, but there's always been conflict of interest between them and Babylon the Great. But you remember Trump said, nobody buy oil from Iran. Nobody do this with Iran. All right. And they put up particular sanctions to block deals. But China says, so you're going to undermine our authority? Well, we're undermining your authority, which these are all going to lead to war eventually, brothers.
Logical economic decision. You didn't have to sell your missiles. That was for profit. We're making a sound and logical economic decision to buy cheap oil from Iran because we want to. And if it undermines you, okay.
That's fascinating, the way you brought this back to economics, because the United States is saying, look, we have a fiduciary responsibility to our citizens to be able to make as much money on our weapons sales, and who are you to tell us not? And China's saying, we have a fiduciary responsibility to our citizens to do business with Iran.
Exactly. This is classic game theory playing out on the world stage, which makes it so interesting. So today, when the Taiwanese president, Chiang Ing-wen, is visiting today, this is a huge slap in the face to China right now, because Trump Trump and the entire U.S. administration is acknowledging them as an entity which can host state-to-state matters.
Yeah, they're angry about this. I mean, I've been reading the comments going back and forth all day, and they're saying, why are you meeting with them? You shouldn't be meeting with them.
Exactly.
All right, and as biblical prophecy says, man, all right, this is Obadiah, and I'll get out of here, get to camp. The book of Obadiah, all right, chapter, verse 3, all right, verse 3, it says, the pride of thine heart have deceived thee, thou that dwellest in the clefts of the rock, whose habitation is high, and his heart, and saith in his heart, who shall bring me down to the ground? Though thou exalt thyself as the eagle, and though thou set thy nest amongst the stars, thence will I bring thee down. Okay, and when you jump down, verse 7, it says, all the men of thy confederacy, okay, have brought thee even to the border. Okay, the men that were at peace with thee have deceived thee, and China is a part of that, and prevailed against thee. They that eat thy bread have laid a wound under thee, and there is none understanding in him. So the Lord is laying a wound for you, Babylon the Great, through pride, because you believe that you're just going to continue to slay these nations. You're going to continue to undermine their authority. You're going to continue to just do 100% wickedness, man. Okay, and exalt yourself as the eagle, which is the highest flying bird, man. You know, the eagle is the highest flying bird. So Esau, Edom looks down on these nations, man. You see, but we're living in a time where these different nations are like, man, to hell with you, because you're basically a sick eagle. You're not flying as high as you used to. You're through. Okay, so I got to get to camp. It's going down. As the scriptures say, man. Watch. All right, as well as pray. Shalom.